the tallest pass over there is called Renjo Pass. It's like right at 20,000 feet. You can see Everest and Lobuche. You can see like three or four of the five tallest mountains in the world from this vantage point. But I remember, it was like hell getting up there. Like every step I had to take 2 breaths. It was like so brutal. But I knew that was the halfway point of the trip. And I remember sitting up there, there's like 10,000 prayer flags just flapping around. And I'm like looking at these mountains. And it just kind of hit me like once I start walking down, I'm on my way home. I remember that hit me really heavy. Like, once we start going that way, we're on our way home. And it was like, well, what are you going to do? Like, what's the plan when you get home? Like, you're out of money again. You're just going to go back to dirt bagging and, fishing and climbing, and you're just going to kind of eke this quiet existence by, or like, do you want to make your mark? And I decided I wanted to make my mark.
It's Suga Snake Takes.
What's up, everybody? It is good to be back with another episode of Suga Snake Takes with my boy Jake. And today we have somebody special, one of my favorite musicians. This guy that I'm speaking about is Drew, and he's from a group called Satsang. And it's one of my favorite styles of music because it's a mix of hip hop, it's a mix of funk, rock, reggae. It's just got a great twist of everything. But what I love most about my man's music is the fact that he's able to convey a true message from the soul that connects with you no matter what flavor you come from. And I feel like that's where the basis of his music comes from. But without further ado, my man Drew McManus, how you doing? Good to have you on Suga Snake Takes. I'm
doing really good, man. I'm excited to be here. I love both you guys a lot, and I'm excited to talk to you. We haven't talked in a while, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. It's been a while, man.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's been cool. I know that all of us in our respective worlds are busy. I know, especially Jake. I see you all over the place, and Rashad. As a fight fan, I see you at work every week.
Yeah,
TV.
Yes, indeed, man. So, I mean, what's been up, man? I mean, it's been a while since we've been able to get some FaceTime together. Last time we talked, it was actually on your podcast during the COVID break. So, what you been up to since then?
Oh my gosh, dude! I've had some huge life transitions. I'm living alone for the first time, I think ever, which I'm really enjoying. Yeah, man, just getting healthy. I fought last January and I tore my labrum.
Oh man!
And I didn't know that's what happened, so I kept training. And then had a really long recovery from that, and then got healthy, and that's just really been my big focus is getting healthy again. And then this last fall, I went to Vegas and saw Nas and Wu-Tang, and it was like the most. I knew it was going to be fun. I went thinking it was going to be fun, and it ended up being one of the most like inspiring evenings of my life. And I dedicated myself to writing at least 32 bars every single morning. And like as a practice, just like instead of reading and journaling and doing the stuff I was doing before, I'm like, no, we're going to write every morning. We're going to write a song every morning. So I've been on that since October, and then just vigorously working on music. That's cool. So Drew, I mean, when I listen to your music, like I was saying in the beginning, it has a way of just truly speaking to my soul. You know what I'm saying? And you write from a place of pain, of just so much reflective, of so much of just the human experience. Talk about your background and where you got started from, and kind of give the people back home an idea of like who you are that made you into the musician that you are. Growing up, I had just a really rough, I just had a really hard life. I was pretty much physically abused daily from my earliest memory until I was about 16, 17 when I left home. And it, just kind of changed my view of the world. And then also outside the house was not real safe either. You know, my brother was always caught up in shit, and he did time in prison, and so did a lot of the people that I grew up with. So it was like life was really hard, and I think I didn't really have any role models or mentors or father figures to work through anything with. So I was kind of left on my own to figure out life. And when I started turning towards spirituality, I took this trip to Nepal. I think it all kind of started with just playing outside. I moved to Montana. I left Chicago and moved to Montana.
Yeah.
And I just found something in the mountains. I just found this peace in the mountains, and that ended up taking me to Nepal. And, when I was there, I just kept getting this heavy feeling like it was time to start working through my shit, and that music was going to be the way to do that. That was just the download that I kept getting when I was there. So I started writing songs. I've always kind of played music. I've always dabbled with music. I was always the dude freestyling at parties growing up. I just always have loved words. And when I was in Nepal, I started writing these songs without a guitar, and a handful of those became the songs that are on The Story of You, our first record. Yeah, so a lot of those were written in Nepal.
Wow, that's pretty dope.
What spurred you, or who was instrumental in getting you to go on that journey to Nepal? Was that just self-motivated, or did you have someone in your life that was like, yo, man, let's go get some shit right and take off out of this country we live in?
Well, it was really, I went as a climber, so I worked at this outdoor shop in this little mountain town called Red Lodge that I lived in for a long time. And this older guy that worked there part-time named Pete, he had been guiding people over there since like the early 90s. And I had taken this job doing survey work, making real money for the first time in my life. So I went and worked for 3 months and came back home with this money. And the plan was that I was going to buy a car that was younger than me, that was going to be the logical move, was to get a reliable vehicle. And my first day back at work, this guy Pete was like, hey man, there's a trip that I've wanted to do, that I want, I just can't get anyone to do it with me. So typically when you go to Nepal, you go to Namche, and then there's Everest Base Camp or Gokyo, you'll go up and then back, and that's a trip. But he had this idea to do a trip, to do this giant circle where you go over all 3 passes. And he's like, I can't find anyone to do it with me. And he was like, if you ever wanted to do it, I wouldn't charge you. You would just have to cover your expenses, but I wouldn't charge you as a guide. So we did the math, and I was like, well, I have exactly that much money.
Wow.
So we booked it and we did it. And I'm so grateful for that trip, because Satsang wouldn't be a thing. I have no idea who or what I would be if I wouldn't have gone on that trip.
How long was the trip? How many days or weeks, months were you there?
I was there 5 weeks, and 4 of those weeks were in the Himalaya. No cell phone, it was crazy, dude.
At first, was it hard? How long did it take for you to I'm fucking here. There's no fast food or going to do this or any conveniences?
It was hard. I think I kind of probably surrendered. It was the 4th day we were in the Himalaya, because every day is the same thing. You wake up and you walk, and then you get to another little village, and every village is the same thing. There's a monastery. There's a little tea house that you stay in the mountains. That's it. There's nothing there. And I kind of realized that I was looking at every day today the goal is to get here. And about the 3rd or 4th day, I was like, well, all these places are pretty much the same. And then it kind of hit me the walk is the trip. The trip is we're not going anywhere. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The walk is the journey is the trip.
Right.
And that kind of changed everything for me, because then I started walking really intentionally and paying pretty close attention to my thoughts. And it became pretty clear pretty quick that I wasn't there to climb, that the trip had nothing to do with climbing.
So was that the moment like where you just realized that your life was never going to be the same after that point when you had that understanding? Because life is all about that perspective, and sometimes when you get that certain perspective, you can never look at life the same way again.
Yeah, I remember like the exact moment where I think everything pivoted for me. We were at the tallest pass over there is called Renjo Pass. It's like right at 20,000 feet. You can see Everest and Lobuche. You can see like three or four of the five tallest mountains in the world from this vantage point. But I remember, it was like hell getting up there. Like every step, I had to take 2 breaths. It was like so brutal. But I knew that was the halfway point of the trip. And I remember sitting up there. There's like 10,000 prayer flags just flapping around, and I'm like looking at these mountains. And it just kind of hit me like once I start walking down, I'm on my way home. I remember that hit me really heavy. Like, once we start going that way, we're on our way home. And it was like, well, what are you going to do? Like, what's the plan when you get home? Like, you're out of money again. You're just going to go back to dirt bagging and, fishing and climbing, and you're just going to kind of eke this quiet existence by, or like, do you want to make your mark? And I decided I wanted to make my mark.
Wow.
So
so you got back and like had a vision and a mission now, and that was kind of the start of Satsang. Is that really when it happened?
Yeah, when I got back, man, I like, my ex-wife had got me this like kind of shoddy little like home recording setup, and I started I had no idea how to record music, dude. I was so bad at it. But I was like getting ideas down, and then there was a guy named David that that played mandolin that I was like, I bet you he would do this with me, because he was the only person I knew that had toured before, had been in a touring band. So I kind of got together with him and was just like, how do we do this? And we really didn't know. So like, actually yesterday, 10 years ago today, I had just gotten back from my very first Satsang tour, and we were just like hitting bars and restaurants, anyone that would let us play, and playing these 3-hour shows to people that could give two shits that we were playing, like it was a grind, and I just stuck with it, man. I just have always had this knowing that music was what I was supposed to do, is what I was put here to do. And the more I leaned into it, the better it got. And I also kind of went into it with this agreement that was like, if I try and fail, fine. It was like, I guess my biggest fear was the thought of like being old and being like, man, I wonder what would have happened if I gave music a try. I just didn't want to have that regret. So I kind of went into it with like, I'm going to give it all I got for a year, and then I'll check back in, and I just kind of kept doing that, and every year would get a little better. It would kind of feel like it was catching a little bit, and then it caught on fire, and now there's no stopping it. So.
Yeah, what's that writing process like for you? Because, you have a very interesting story, and your perspective that you got from Nepal, and which you're able to glean from that and come back and start to write while you were there. But I mean, like, what's that process like when you're like, you know what, I'm putting, pen to paper, and you just kind of lock yourself away, you just kind of let it just come from a dream? Like, what is it?
So it's kind of changed. It always happens really fast. Like what used to happen is I would like have a sentence, I would get hit with a sentence. And once I start it, like the good songs, any of the songs that I've released, most of those songs were kind of write themselves. Like once I start going, it just like happens, which is, if I have to force it, I know that it's probably going to suck. Like, cause I don't want to try to say anything. I kind of want to let whatever's trying to speak through me speak. But I'm on some different shit right now, dude. Like, because of the intention and practice that I put into it, now that it's like, I'm disciplined in it. Like, dude, you could give me a sentence and I could write 16 off of it. Like right now, because I force myself to do it every day. Yeah.
So like when you decided, when you listen to your music, right, and you just kind of seeing where you first started, and you just kind of like go through the albums, even like when you're on tour and stuff like that. Can you kind of get like a glimpse of, like what you're going through in your life and kind of get the same feels? You know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of tap back into that.
Yeah, it changes, man. It's funny you say that. Like, there's certain songs that almost feel like, the kid in his mid 20s that wrote it was writing it for me now. Like, was like, you're gonna need this one later,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. They kind of change meanings, and I go through relationships with songs. Like, it's funny. Like, Remember Ja, I never really thought that much of that song, and I know how much you love that song.
Yeah.
And it was actually, just during ceremony, and then when I came to Colorado, you want me to play it. It kind of made me like, oh man, this is a really good song. Like, I actually
Yeah.
really like this song. So I go through waves with certain songs. Like, sometimes I used to go through these waves where I like didn't want to play certain songs, and now I'm just so in love with all of them because I just kind of see it as this, like, it's all part of me. It's all part of the story. They're all valid.
That makes me have to wonder, because I describe your music in my own mind as island music, and I say island music because if you had to pick an artist that was like someone you had to get their whole collection and live with just their music, I feel you touch on a lot of genres. You're not just like hip hop. You're not just a little bit of country or rap, or you can do it all. And so for me, I compare you somewhat to like a Ben Harper type that can sit down and play any kind of music. You can go from country to rap to reggae. And so how would you describe, I mean, I guess you've been through these genres, and what you're in now, is that kind of reflective of your life and the path you've been on? I mean, and how do they correlate? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Because for me, I love music too much to just play one thing, man. That's like my worst nightmare. The idea of like being in a reggae band where I'm like only allowed to play reggae music, and that's all people want to hear. It's like it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's hindered us in a lot of ways in the industry because industry people don't know what we're going to do. I was in litigation with a record label, and the A&R from the label said, the reason that we're struggling to just write you this check is because we don't know what you're going to make. Could you just tell us what you're going to make? And I was like, I can't tell you what I'm going to make until I start making it. Like, I don't know either. And like,
creative freedom.
Yeah. So it's hindered us a lot, but for me, I go through waves with music, like when we made like All Right Now and Flowers from the Fray, like during COVID, I was working on a ranch full time. So it's like, I'm obviously not going to be listening to Nipsey Hussle while I'm like working on a ranch. It's like, there's like, and I was fishing all the time and rock climbing. So it's like, a lot of it depends on my environment and what I'm doing. And, when I'm home and training and coaching full time and lifting every morning, it's pretty much all I'm listening to is hip hop music. So I just go through these different, phases, and those phases last years for me, of what I'm listening to. And so it just kind of dictates what I'm going to make. But to me, the thing that's always been congruent is like, if you listen to I Am or Remember Ja, like those are hip hop verses. Those are 16-bar verses with a hook. It's like if I made a beat in the same exact BPM, that it would be a hip hop song, but all I had was an acoustic guitar, so it just came out the way that it came out, But yeah, I don't ever know what I'm really gonna make. Like right now, I'm pretty focused on making soul music and hip hop music and kind of blending this like soul, gospel, R&B thing. That's kind of where my heart's at right now. But that'll change, that'll change.
And you're living alone for the first time, and from doing a little research and knowing about your path and your path through addiction, through becoming sobriety, you mentioned something and some stuff I was looking at about a lot of times people get sober by being around groups and being in groups and being community, but you actually found your path through isolation, which is very unique in that regard. and now you're living alone for the first time. And so, talk a little bit about just obviously addiction and how that, are you dealing with that still every day? As I know addiction to be something that people continue to deal with. And obviously you're a driven man, you're disciplined, you have the things you do. How do you cope with that? And how do you continue to stay on that path?
Yeah, I think I like being alone. I get a lot from that time. I like my company, I went through kind of a big thing a couple years ago, the fall of 2022. I had been sober 9 years, and then I started drinking that fall. My heart was just hurt, and it was, alcohol and drugs are just, they're like that shitty old friend. You see them and it's like a familiar thing, and it's real easy to start hanging out with that friend again, and then next thing you know, you're in a bunch of shit. It's like, well, yeah, because you're hanging out with a knucklehead. But I'm really grateful for that time. I'm really grateful that Dell was actually a huge person for me during that time. We talked pretty frequently during that time, and he was really there for me. And I think for me, I don't really think about my addictions anymore. And I actually don't even know if I am addicted to anything, because I guess I've structured my life in a way that I'm just so careful about who and what I let in it now. I'm really protective of this energy that I've cultivated and the creativity that I have cultivated. So I'm real careful about who I let in my life. And really, I just don't have time. And I know this sounds shitty, but when I get sad now, I don't feel a need to run from it. I kind of lean into it. I'm like, I think I'm just learning really to love myself and all parts of me, and so when there's a sad part of me, it's like, let's sit with him, instead of like doing everything we can to run away from it. It's like, well, where's that sadness coming from? Why are you sad right now? And yeah, I'm just learning how to care for myself.
That's awesome, man. Life is all about that perspective. And I know there's life in itself gives you perspective if you stick with the problem long enough, but also being able to tap into the psychedelics and things like that. How much do you use that to help you kind of go through some things, or even just to catch a vibe sometimes and just gain a little bit of peace?
Yeah, for me, I found, especially with psilocybin, I have like I know exactly how much I like to take. And really, like you said, like check-in. For me, it's just like a check-in. I'm open to the notion that I'm full of shit about anything. And I feel like, even with myself, and I feel like what psilocybin does a really good job of is, I'll feel pretty certain about one thing or the other, or a decision. And, those check-ins, they shine a big old flashlight on you, and it makes you get real honest real quick.
Yeah.
So for me, it's pretty sparingly, but I feel like before I have a big transition, before I go on the road, is usually a good time for me to check in with how I'm really feeling about sharing music again. Yeah, man, I'm so grateful for that medicine. But yeah, for me, it's like very mild doses, and it's like, it's just enough to kind of pull the curtain back.
How do you see this progressing in society, as it's very, well known and being treated in helping treat PTSD and anxiety, depression? Everyone, that I bump into, seeing that we're selling functional mushrooms through Umbo, they're always like, oh yeah, I don't want to trip out. And they're legal in Colorado. And I don't see them being like a legal thing you can just buy at a store. But what do you see the progression here? Because it's really an important thing as you're using them responsibly. What do you see the future of psychedelic use being in our country?
Well, I think the biggest thing, right, is that facts, I think we live in a pretty, well, I was going to say we live in a fact-based culture, but I think the logical part of most human beings, right, is we want to see evidence. And for those of us that have been using psychedelics for a long time, like none of this is news to us. Like, we all have known forever, countless stories of people that went through a divorce or were struggling with PTSD or, depression, any number of things that have found insane relief through these different medicines. And it's like, the reason that these laws are changing and stuff like that, because of groups like Unlimited Sciences and stuff like that, where it's like collecting this data that it's like, no, man, this isn't like your cousin-in-law being like, dude, I ate these mushrooms and it really helped me get through my divorce. It's like, no, dude, it's thousands and thousands of people with horrific stories, crippling depression, terrible PTSD,
trauma,
that aren't saying like, oh, I found this medication that if I take every day is really helpful. It's, we're seeing lasting cures. Like, the MAP studies on depression and PTSD in particular, like we've never had a cure for PTSD or a cure for depression. And we have thousands of people saying that their depression and PTSD has been cured.
Yeah.
Not treated, cured. It's like our culture and the American medical system, there's no money in cures. The money is in treatment. It's like finding a pill that's $8 every single day that you're going to have to take for the rest of your life to eke through an existence. And I think the more people too that we see kind of like in the spotlight, like the Aaron Rodgers and people that just have a huge platform, coming forward and being like, dude, this shit is real. And here's what I dealt with. And here's what it got me through. I think the potential is endless, and people are waking up fast.
Yeah. So true, man. So true. And with that awakening, there's the awareness of taking your health back, being more health aware. I see you are always in great shape. I know you're a great athlete. I rode with you in jiu-jitsu, but outside of jiu-jitsu and things like that, like what do you do from a health basis, just from a daily functional, I'm taking care of my body type thing?
I have to lift. I have to lift every morning. Like, I like the side effects of lifting weights. I like looking good naked. That's cool. But really it's like that time in the morning for me, that hour of like, this is my time. I'm listening to music. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just working out. Is super, super important for me. And then just eating real food, man. Like I have a whole bunch of supplements, I'm on the Onnit Pro team, so they take pretty good care of me. I take Umbo stuff. But really for me, it's like just eating real food. I don't really eat anything that comes out of a box or a bag. I try to kind of just eat eggs and meat and plants. And, that's when I feel my best. And it's so funny seeing the names that have come out for all of these different diets over the years. And it's just like, dude, the diet is eating real food. It's not,
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
I heard Ziggy Marley call it a live it one time. Like, who wants to die, man? Who wants to die?
Yeah.
I'm not to die. I want to live it.
Live it. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. And everyone's bodies are different. I was vegetarian for a long time, and I was tiny, dude. I was like 150 pounds. And I had a really, really bad neck injury. And after I healed that, part of healing that was changing the way I ate. Getting stem cells from ways to well was huge. But starting to get regular blood work, man, and just knowing what the heck is going on inside my body was really a game changer.
Yeah. I see you also, not only do jiu-jitsu, you get you get your hands right. You did a boxing match, right? Like, come on, you're doing it all, man. Talk about your boxing training.
Yeah, so I've always loved striking, and I have kind of just gone through different, I'll have 6 months where I'm super focused on jiu-jitsu, and then 6 months where I'm super focused on boxing and Muay Thai. I love them both equally. My role at the gym as a coach has been way more focused on striking. We're affiliating soon with one of my favorite striking coaches in the world. And yeah, dude, I just love it. I just love, people always talk about jiu-jitsu being chess. And I think striking is the same thing. I almost love it more in that regard of like, I love looking for tells. I love looking for tells in people. I love sparring. I've like in the last year or so, I've kind of toned the sparring down since I hurt my shoulder, but God, I love punching and kicking people, man. I just, there's something about it. I really, really enjoy it.
It's funny because your music is so, love and centered on a discovery, and you love nature. And I don't know a lot of people that maybe know that side of you, that it's obviously the yin to your yang. You'll be able to go
that balance
and get it out, man. So you don't hold on to that.
Yeah, I think it is a huge release for me. I also think, like Rashad, I know you could probably relate to this too. To me, it's just a game. Like it's not.
It is. It is.
Like when I'm sparring someone, or my goal is never like, man, I'm gonna fuck you up, dude. Like I try not to. If I have that energy in me, then I'm like, I probably shouldn't spar today.
Yeah.
To me, it's like we're just playing a game, dude, and I love that game. I love. Yeah, like I said, man, when I can move around with someone and I start getting reads on their tells, and then I'm like running my program in my brain, like, okay, I'm going to do this, then this is how I'm going to get him. God, I don't think I have autism, dude, but maybe. Like the amount of time that I spend like studying certain fighters, and like I'll just pick someone and be like, why do you do it like that? Why does this work? Why does this guy's shit work? Like for... I just did this study on Sean Strickland. I was just trying to figure it out. I'm like, this shouldn't work. He doesn't move his
style. I know.
Yeah. He moves. It doesn't move his head. I'm like, this dude should get knocked out way more than he does. But I just love it, man. I love it so much.
It's the pressure. It's the pressure that suffocates the guys.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you think about this Mike Tyson Jake Paul deal? Like,
dude, I'm in favor of anybody getting money, I think, I saw someone say, I don't know who said it, but I just agree with it. So it's a lose-lose for Jake Paul. Cause it's like, if you knock out Tyson, you knock out a 60-year-old guy that's been inactive forever. And if you lose, then you got knocked out by a 60-year-old guy. I mean, that's still Mike Tyson.
It's still Mike.
That's still Mike Tyson. That's still Mike Tyson in there. So I don't know, man. I think I have a couple friends that are really close to Jake. I thought the whole thing was so dumb from the beginning, but like I said, as a amateur analyst, I've watched Jake box, and that kid can box. He can box, and he can throw. He can throw. He's a dangerous dude. He's a dangerous dude, but you don't want Mike Tyson hitting you in the face, dude. And especially the Mike Tyson that I've been seeing, because Mike Tyson, he lives here in South Florida, and I train with those guys sometimes, and they send me some videos, and Mike is looking real good. So I feel he may surprise a lot of people. When he fought Roy Jones, that camp he had like 2 camps back to back, so it kind of messed up his ability to sustain himself and still peak for the fight, But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see, no matter what, though. I think the thing too with Mike is you can get whoever you want that can kind of play that peekaboo style. Yeah. But I saw a video a while back of him hitting pads. And just his head, like the way he comes in, it's like you're not going to find anyone that can do it like him, dude. No. I think it's going to be different too, because you can whatever you got to do in the press conference. But I could not imagine a world where I was standing across, gloved up with Mike Tyson, and not completely overtaken by fear of like, that's Mike fucking Tyson.
Still him.
That's still him, dude. Yeah.
And that's the thing about Mike is like Mike, even though as peaceful as he is, he still has that like any minute now. You know what I'm saying? Like you say something, he be like, he can hit that switch still. So he's not totally, he's still got a bite to him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he ain't totally domesticated. No. So Drew, I want to ask you though. So you did jiu-jitsu and you did a fight. What was it like? What was the difference between the two? And what was it like to actually walk out to a fight?
I thought that I was going to be super nervous. And maybe it's just because I used to spar so much, dude. We used to spar like 5 days a week. And leading up to that camp, I was sparring or leading up to that fight, I was sparring all the time. I was in phenomenal shape. It was like coming off of that relapse. So the gym was like my North Star. You know, I was there from 11 in the morning till 9 at night. I just didn't leave. Dude, I got you. So, you know, when you take a large dose of mushrooms and you start smiling and you can't stop smiling.
Yeah.
That was how I felt before the fight. Like, I was waiting for this, like,
Yeah.
I was waiting for an adrenaline dump. I was waiting to start getting shaky. Dude, I was listening to Biggie on my headphones and I was just like
smiling.
I couldn't.
That's good.
I was so happy. I was so happy that guy wanted to fight. And when I went in, there was kind of this overwhelming moment, like when the bell rang. I came out, and the first time I got hit, I kind of was like, "Oh shit, yeah, okay, cool, we're fighting." I think the walkout was great. My coach, who's also like my closest friend, he turned and looked at me and he said, "You want to go get in a fight?" And I just have never answered a question more excitedly in my life. Yeah, I do. But I had a blast, man. I had that kid was super, super tough, man. I knocked him down 4 times and he kept getting back up. And one of the times I knocked him down, I went and ran over to my corner and like gave Will a knuckle bumps through the ropes. I was like, he's fucking donezo. And then like turned around and he was like standing up nodding. But dude, I love it. I loved it so much. I thought about, you know, for me, I hate cardio. I really hate doing cardio. But I'd like to kickbox this summer. Boxing is fun, but I really like throwing kicks. I'd really like to kick someone in the head. So if I can commit to doing the cardio necessary to take the fight, I think I'd like to do a kickboxing fight, maybe in August. It's just that cardio, dude. I hate doing cardio.
Yeah, I know that's the thing about it. But you know, here's the thing though. I would say this, and this would change my mind and change me all the way to how I felt about cardio. Cardio for me was never about getting in shape, more or less. It was about me doing the mental work, because when I do the cardio, that's when I'm thinking about the fight. And I use that to kind of like, I think about different scenarios and I use that to kind of run the nerves of the fight. So before I know it, I end up doing more cardio because I use it to kind of mentally process about what I have to do to get ready for this fight. So
yeah, that makes sense. Where you start thinking about like being tired in the fight and I could see that. I don't know. I really want to kickbox. I think my only aversion to MMA, you know, I'm a brown belt, and I want to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty good brown belt.
No, you're pretty damn good, yeah.
And I just feel like if I was, thank you, but I feel like if I was in an MMA fight, I would like, that panic button would get hit, you know, I would like eat a leg kick or something, and I would just be like, you know, and I would fall back on that, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to use it in jiu-jitsu. I want to like be forced to like, no, dude, you have to fight.
Let your hands go.
Hey, you mentioned the walkout, you know, to the fight, and and that you were smiling and excited. And I can recall, you know, the times I was suiting up, ready to go out on the field on a Sunday. You took that first pop to the face, and then all of a sudden, I'm in a fight. And it would happen with me too. That first hit, you get hit, and you're like, oh shit, okay, now I'm in the flow. When you're on tour, you know, you're night after night, you're having to like go out. And I've seen you a few times live, and you put it down, man. You give it to the fans. How do you do that every night? What is it in the preparation or the rest or the meditation or whatever to have that smile on your face like you went out to box, but to do it on the stage every night when you're on tour?
Dude, that's a great question. A couple things. I think for me, the biggest thing is that during the day, you know, tour kind of gets monotonous. You know, you're kind of in Groundhog's Day. It's like the same exact schedule every day, pretty much. So during the day, I'm real protective of my energy. I don't get off the bus that much. I like to read, and I work out every day. I have kind of these things that I do during the day. But the thing that always comes to me when it's like almost time to play is, you know, I live a really blessed life. I love my job. I love what I do. And most people don't love what they do. They do what they do so they can do things that they love. And anyone that comes to see me play, that's a choice that they made. That's something that they probably did a job that they don't want to do to acquire the money necessary to do something they do want to do. And my show was on that list. So right before I go out, I always pray, and I always say, just thank you for letting me be here and let me sing and, you know, giving me this life. And two, I always pray for the same thing too, you know, help me show up for these people in a beautiful way. Cause it means a lot to me that people would spend money to come see me. It's crazy to me. You know, that these people have listened to songs enough, shit that I wrote down in a notebook. They've listened to it enough that they know all the words. There's songs they want to hear. They're that excited to see me. Is fucking crazy. So,
some of them you've helped save them in times of deep, dark depths. You know, I know music can pull you out of that.
Yeah. And, you know, and when we do those VIPs, man, I get to hear all those stories. And I think, you know, especially that fall where I had relapsed, I think I had just gotten to this weird relationship with my career and music in general, where I was kind of resenting it because I felt like I was having to do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. Like sometimes I didn't feel like playing. I didn't feel like traveling. And I feel like my life had gotten away from me. Like I wasn't really in control of it anymore. And I think how I overcame that was I took the reins back and, you know, and really I started taking what I do super seriously. I don't resent it. I'm grateful for it. I love it. And that the healing that people have experienced through the music, like that shit is real. So I have a responsibility to go show up for those people. And I'm grateful for that responsibility. And I take it really seriously now. You know,
That's
it means
gift.
a lot to me.
That's a gift.
It's a huge gift. Yeah.
We all have had it. We all are performers. So we all have that gift to give.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever heard any of those stories? Like, I'm sure you heard a lot of stories, but I mean, have any of those stories that you've heard from those people who come and see in a VIP, have they like penetrated you and like stuck in your mind? Like, man, I can't believe that, you know, like it was that deep.
Yeah, I mean, dude, so many of them. I've had a couple from veterans in particular. They were really powerful. There was a guy actually last time we were in Denver. Yeah, you know, he had came up to me and he said, you know, I had gotten asked to go to this veterans retreat. You know, and as he's telling me this, his wife is like already tearing up and crying. And he's like, you know, I had written my suicide note. I had promised my wife, like, okay, I'll go do this retreat. He's like, in my head, I was like, this isn't going to work because I've tried everything. So he's like, I'm going to go to this retreat to appease my wife. So at least when I end my life, she'll feel like I tried everything. And he's like, I went to this retreat and he was like, you know, they did some breathwork thing and they were laying down and after the breathwork thing and whoever was leading that breathwork played I Am. And he's like, bro, I haven't cried. I couldn't even, you know, he was a Navy SEAL. He was like, I couldn't even tell you the last time I cried. Like, he was like, that was my thing, was like, I didn't feel anything anymore. I didn't feel love for my wife. I didn't feel love for my kids. I didn't feel emotions anymore. I was dead. And he's like, dude, I bawled and bawled and bawled. And then I've listened to that song, you know, 10 times a day since that retreat.
Wow.
And he's like, and then he came home, showed his wife that note and they burned it together. And he's like, I'm here.
Wow.
I'm staying.
Wow.
You know, like what the fuck?
That's
you know?
powerful, man.
I know.
Damn.
I know.
That's such a power and the beauty of music. And, you know, thinking about that and just thinking about where we are in the world and just how everything is at disarray. I mean, that has to be some kind of, I guess, responsibility as a musician to want to really put out something that resonates with the world enough that it can help a little bit with that change, you know?
Yeah, it's a prerequisite for me. Like, you know, there's just enough music about smoking weed and having a good time and partying and shit. Like, I don't need to contribute to that ocean of music, dude. I'm cool making like this little pool, you know, that you come hang out at when you need to heal or need to even just feel motivated, you know? Like, for me, it's so important. Yeah, if people are going to listen to me, I want to say something important. I want to give them something that will help, you know, even if it's making them just feel good, you know, like, okay, cool, man, I can make it another day, you know. Yeah, it's super important to me. And I just, there's so much music that does that for me, and I would not be here if it wasn't for that music. I don't, you know, there's so many days that I wouldn't have made it through without music. So I know how powerful it is, and means everything to me.
It's a great segue to my last thought of asking you. You've been on tour with a lot of great artists, musicians. Obviously, music is a huge part of your life, and you just mentioned being influenced by a lot of different musicians. What are a couple of your favorites? And then also, who have you toured with that was just awesome to tour with? I remember seeing you when you were touring with Michael Franti, and you said, holy shit, that dude is like,
he's the
work.
GOAT, man.
I mean, what a badass on the road. And so share a little bit of a few artists you just really enjoy being with or that have motivated you.
You know, I think early on, I think Common was, I think, one of the first artists that like touched my heart, where I just, his album, like Water for Chocolate, there was just something so beautiful and poetic about that album. And then his next album, B, the intro track for that record, to me is the most beautiful thing ever written. And I still come back to it all of the time. You know, for me, I think a lot of times I feel overwhelmed by the position that I play. And Nipsey Hussle is somebody that on a lot of levels has touched my life. Like, and being motivated and kind of stepping into the, like, no, bro, you asked for this shit, so you step into it. Like, you don't cower away now. And has just really motivated me to trust my gut and trust my intuition and put all my money in, you know, of like, no, bro, if you feel this idea in your heart, you throw all your money at it. You don't half-ass any of this. And I wouldn't, without that kind of mindset that I feel like I got from listening to Nipsey, I wouldn't have the financial freedom that I do right now. Like, I really believe that his music played a role in me playing the position that I play now and playing it the way that I do. As far as artists that I've toured with, man, Trevor Hall is one of the most beautiful human beings of all time. When people ask me what Trevor's like, I always say he's exactly how you think he would be. He is a full-on Neem Karoli Baba devotee. I mean, he'd be doing the fucking chants and the meditating and that's not an act, man. That is who he is. And it is his devotion to that is really beautiful. And what's really cool too is to see the dichotomy in Trevor of, you know, he'll be like sitting in this room and you hear him like doing his chants and his prayers, and then he comes out with like, you know, make a dick joke. He's just the perfect dichotomy of a guy. But as far as inspiring, dude, no one can touch Michael Franti. I mean, in the way, it was the most unbelievable. You know, we toured with him for a year, and there's just this dude. And we later found out, you know, he had to have like complete reconstructive surgery on his knee at the end of that tour. When we would pull up, we would do a workout together. He would go do a yoga meetup. Then he would do his VIP thing. And then if you've ever seen a Michael Franti show, he's running around the whole time with his damn headset on.
Barefoot.
And dancing with kids and absolutely nuts. And then after the show, we would do another workout. And this was his routine for a year. Like, and then I remember one time we were running stairs in Chicago. This venue had this big balcony where it had stairs up, and then you run across the balcony and then down. We did something like 10, 15 laps. And he was kind of talking about his knee feeling funny. At the end of that tour, dude, he sends me a picture of the MRI of his knee, dude. His meniscus looks like somebody shot it with a shotgun, you know. And he didn't skip a workout. He didn't skip a yoga practice during the show. He's still running around like a madman. He's just the most, and a beautiful business mind too. You know, a beautiful business mind. He was so influential on me as a performer and really understanding the business side of what we do and how important it is to keep your hands on it. And yeah, he's an insanely inspiring, and he's like 55 and he's still going hard as ever, you know.
Dang. Yeah. So your music now, I feel, resonates with so many people just because of where we are as a society right now. But with that popularity, the big record labels and the big people that control music, they're going to want a piece of that, and they're going to want to get on board with whatever style you bring forward to the table. Have you thought about how big industry can change what you do as from an artist standpoint? And if you want to go that route, or you just kind of want to stay in this lane that you're in right now?
I think we're at the most interesting time in the history of music that we've ever done. It's like, or ever been in. Like, there's a lot of things that aren't necessary anymore because music is free, um, which is so beautiful that music is free now. Yeah, I've said no to some stuff. I think a thing that's also been really hard in my, I don't fuck around, man. I just am gonna say whatever I think, and I've spoken directly in circles where I shouldn't, where I guess not shouldn't, but that's frowned upon, you know. So yeah, I've been in conversations that didn't go well because my shit's not for sale. I know the value of what I make, and um, that relationship to me isn't there. There's no middleman necessary. That it's me and my fans. So I just, you know, I I'm always open to partnerships that are mutually beneficial, I suppose. But for me, there's no reason to complicate it. I make this music right here. I upload it, and then the world gets it. It's like I just don't want to complicate that thing. And for me right now, at the rate that I'm creating, I just don't see. Um, I don't think anyone could keep up with what our plan is. Like they would tell us that I'm crazy if I told if a label was like, you want to put out a single every 2 weeks for a year, they'd be like, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, I can. I just have to push a button. So that's my plan this year. Is I just want to put out more music than ever before, and you know because
Yeah.
it's like I think it's that shotgun approach. It's like the more I put out, the more potential there is to help. You
But
know,
I mean, then again, that's another leading in an area that you're just speaking about, being independent and kind of, setting a new standard, like releasing a new single every 2 weeks. That's something that's has it ever been done? you know?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
don't think so. Not that I know of. And again, that's like that motivation too. I think that there's artists that we've seen. Like in 2000, I think 18, Nip put out 4 records in 1 year. And he had this crazy idea of that he was going to sell copies for $100, and everyone's like, "Who's going to buy $100 CD?" And he sold 1,000 copies in one day. So he's like, just made $100,000 like that, and he did that like 4 different times. Yeah, he had this whole movement called Proud to Pay, and I think for me, that's what gets me excited about the industry side of things. Is it's like, what
yeah,
crazy idea can we pull off?
yeah,
Because that was Nip's thing, front to back. Was like, you know, he just did so much shit that they were like, that's never going to work. And he's like, watch me. I love that.
yeah. I know that there's some kind of like NFT and music as well too, as far as getting as far along with the digital side. Are you planning on going anywhere that direction, or is that kind of tipping your hat too much of what you plan on do in the future with things?
I don't know. I'm open to anything. Man, I just don't really pay attention to anything outside my little world anymore. I don't even watch the news anymore. So it's like, there's so much, there's so much shit probably
Yeah.
going on that I don't know about, but it's like, I'm in the process of restructuring my team, and we're adding some people to it. Um, and there's a guy that will be on the team that is super hip to all of that sort of stuff. So he's gonna, we'll have to get a translator for him to explain to me how all that shit works. But um, he's super hip to all that stuff.
That's cool, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's real cool.
Shit, man. Drew, I have to say it's been a pleasure to know you, to have sat in ceremony with you. A lot of people don't know listening, Drew's played on some huge stages and with some amazing artists, opened up for some amazing artists. And not a lot of people know that I opened up for you in Jefferson one night, long time back. I sang a little Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and then allowed you to come on stage and do your thing. But that's something I'll always cherish, to have that
is there a video of this? Is there a video of this? I gotta see the video.
Just the people that were there. No, you were there.
Oh.
You were there. We were all together. But yeah, man, I'm inspired by your devotion, dedication, and everything you're doing to continue to push yourself as not just an artist and a musician, but as a man and as a good man, and finding where
Thank you, brother.
where you're at, being fully owning it. I could say that about you. You own it, man. When I'm around you, it's like what you see is what you get, bitch. And this is me. And if you don't like it, let's go. I'm a badass brown belt. So grateful to know you, man, and have you as a guest here. It's been really awesome. But I will take that with me that I opened for Drew and Satsang. Not Satsang, the man. It happened.
It happened. It was a thing. Absolutely. Drew, man. I'm out here in South Florida, man. But do I got to go out west to be able to see you on tour or what? You ever come out this way? What's the tour like?
We're coming. Hold up, dude. We're coming your way actually this coming month.
Oh yeah. Lucky me.
Hold up. Let me look at the schedule. Yeah. We're going this first leg of this tour. Yeah, man, we will be in Gainesville, St. Petersburg, Melbourne, and Jacksonville.
Wow. Okay. Jacksonville.
Yep.
Okay. My brother lives up there. I'll take a trip up there.
Yeah. April 14th, Sunday, April 14th.
Okay. Perfect.
So you get ready to get out on the road soon.
Yeah, I leave. I was going to leave tomorrow. And then I could cut the driving. I have to go meet the tour bus in Chicago. And I was like, going to take 3 days to do the drive. And I just want to be home one more day. So I'm just going to suck it up and make the drive days longer. But yeah, man, I leave in 2 days.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on. Love you to death, man. And I look forward to being able to see you on tour, doing your thing. And Drew, if you have anything else you want to say to people, where they can follow you or anything, where they can find out information, where they can find out things from your tour.
Yeah, so on Instagram, you can just follow me at Satsang, or go to satsangmovement.com. But yeah, man, if you're on the Instagram, you'll see all the needed information and all the new music as it comes out.
Sweet.
Absolutely. Sweet. Well,
very nice, man. Safe travels on your tour, Drew.
Yeah, thank you. Love you, boys.
Yes,
Love you
indeed.
too, man.
All right, I am Suga, and that is Jake, and that is Drew. Thank you for watching another episode of Suga Snake Takes. Peace, love and mushroom.
Peace, love, and mushroom.
Peace.